Jessii Vee, and today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite things ever, phenomenons. And as you can tell by the title of today's video, the first part of this video is going to be all about colors, because there is one color that you guys know that doesn't actually exist. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm going to reveal it to you in a second. And by the way, I forgot to wear my wedding ring today, which is crazy. I literally haven't forgotten it since we've been married, so it's just so weird not having a ring on this finger. But just so you know, we are still married, all is good. I just forgot it at home, and now I'm in the studio, and I'm filming 3 videos, so for the next 3 videos, there's not gonna be a ring on this finger, but don't worry, everything's fine. Okay, so let's just jump right into this video, starting off with a color that doesn't exist. So believe it or not, the color you've never actually seen before is magenta. And you might be thinking, no, Jessii, I've seen that color. I'm looking at it right now. Well, you actually haven't, and I know how crazy that sounds. This is just the color your brain wants you to see because it can't actually comprehend the color it really is. So this color right here that you're staring at is just an illusion. Insane? I think so. A beam of white light is made up of all colors in the spectrum. The range extends from red through to violet, with orange, yellow, green, and blue in between. But there is one color that is not on the spectrum, and that is magenta. Magenta is not a single wavelength of electromagnetic radiation in the visible spectrum, but our brain perceives it anyway. It's something our brain creates to fill that space, if it makes sense. So this color is what your brain defaults to because it can't actually see the real color. Now, I know this is all very confusing, and I'm not a scientist, so I can't really describe this very well. And there's also so much debate about this color being real or not real, but all you really need to know is that people believe that magenta doesn't exist. It's a different color that we can't see. If you guys want to hear about this more in depth, there's so many YouTube videos about it, so definitely go check those out after this video. They go more into depth about your eyes, into the scientific stuff behind it, all the different light information. I'm not very good at that. But just this fact really blew my mind because they call magenta the forbidden color. So what you see is not actually what's there. The next fact about colors that I want to talk about is that there are so many other colors that exist in this world that we can't physically see. And it's creepy to think that we can't even imagine in our brains what other colors could look like because we've never seen them. There's just so many other colors out there and our brain just won't let us see them. But there are some animals that have way more color receptors, so they're looking at a world in a whole different way and they're seeing colors that we can't. It's crazy to think that there are other animals out there that can see more color than we can. For example, the mantis shrimp has 16 color receptive cones and can detect 10 times more color than a human. They can see 10 times more colors than we can. They also move 50 times faster than the blink of an eye. And because of that, they can sometimes boil the water around them as they swim. I also know that spiders and bees can see in ultraviolet light, which looks like this. Imagine seeing like that every day. And cats and dogs only have 2 color receptors, so they see less colors than we do. Now, I do have 11 very rare colors right now that I'm gonna show you. And these colors do exist, but we very rarely see them. Now, their names are so strange, so I hope I pronounced them correctly. And listen, I went to an art high school and an art college, and I honestly have never heard of these colors before. So here are the rare colors. We have sarcoulin, coquelicot, Margadine, Mikado, Glaucus, Wenge, Fulvus, Xanadu, Falu, Ebernian, and Amaranth. My tongue is so twisted right now. I probably said like 90% of those wrong. But those are colors that apparently we don't usually see. And here's another creepy thought. What if like the blue that I see is not the blue that you see? Like what if my blue is what looks like yellow to you? Does that make sense? Are we going way too far with this now? Now there is this weird color phenomenon with some humans in the world, and it is where people can hear, taste, and feel color. It sounds crazy, but it's real, but it's also very, very rare. Like, could you imagine red sounding like a thunderstorm, blue feeling like a furry blanket, pink tasting like toothpaste? Like, imagine having this phenomenon with yourself. I feel like the whole day I would be so overwhelmed walking around looking at colors because I'd be tasting them, feeling them. Oh my goodness. All right, so let's be gone with the colors for now and move on to the next phenomenon. This one is called the Nightmare on Elm Street phenomenon. Now, if you guys didn't know, this is a horror movie that came out in 1984. In the movie, there's a main villain named Freddy Krueger that appears to kids in their nightmares and terrorizes them while they are asleep. But the thing is, if they die in their sleep, they die in real life, so they have to try to get away from him. And I mean, this character is actually quite terrifying. His face is all messed up, he has those huge claw things for hands. I would not want to see this guy. So that is why this is a really classic scary horror movie, because Freddy Krueger really scared people. And it was even scarier that he appeared in their nightmares. So when you're asleep, you're your most vulnerable. Now, when you hear about this movie or watch this movie, you think, oh, someone just completely made that story up. Apparently that's not the case. Nightmare on Elm Street was actually based on a true story. It's apparently about this boy from real life who suffered these horrible nightmares. He'd have nightmares every single night. And one night, unfortunately, he ended up dying in the middle of one of his nightmares. And what's even eerier is that before he died, he would constantly tell his parents that he was afraid to go to sleep because the thing that was chasing him in his dreams was gonna get him and kill him. So he had always told his parents this before he went to bed, but of course they didn't believe him, because who would think a nightmare would actually harm somebody? Basically, the night he passed away, his parents were sleeping and they suddenly heard him screaming so loud while he was dreaming. But by the time they got to him, he had unfortunately already passed away. He died in the middle of a nightmare. So that is actually where they got the inspiration for this movie. So now it's called the Nightmare on Elm Street phenomenon, because this has never happened to anybody else. And don't worry, I'm sure this happens very rarely. So like, don't worry about having a nightmare. You're gonna be fine. Alright, the next phenomenon is called the Witch's Pond of Romania. Tucked away within the ancient trees of Romania's Boldu Crătescu forest, one can find a tiny little pond that doesn't really look at all like much. It's only 5 meters wide, 200 meters long, and just 1.5 meters deep. So it really just looks like your average small pond. It's covered in algae, it looks pretty ugly. No one really notices it when they're hiking, but this pond has a very scary backstory. It has a long, dark history of strangeness and unexplained phenomenons, and it's well known as the Witch's Pond. The area was long said to be a gathering place for witches, who came here by night to carry out rituals and sacrifices. So people believe that this pond has like mythical energy because witches used to go here. There are even some people who say that witches drowned in this pond, so now they haunt it. Locals believe that no animals will drink from the pond under any circumstances. And apparently the area around this pond is completely silent. You can't hear a bird, you can't hear rustling of leaves, it's so quiet there. The water is also sometimes said to turn blood red for no reason at all. And apparently no matter how much it rains, the pond never changes in size, so it can't flood, it can't dry up, it's always stayed the same. People also say the weather around the pond is so weird. So for example, sometimes people will be hiking by this pond and they'll see that it's snowing only over the pond, or like they'll see that it's thunderstorming only over the pond. Some people even say that this pond is bottomless, like there's literally, you could jump in and you'd never find the bottom. Other people say it's a portal to another realm, but basically they say don't go near it, don't step into it, just stay away from it. So yeah, I definitely thought that was pretty creepy. Alright guys, so those are the phenomenons we're gonna be talking about today. If you guys still like this series and want me to do more, definitely give this video a thumbs up. But I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!